Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adrienne Gilliard here with Sandra Bazan, and we're from ELC's Inclusion Team, bringing you Behavior Bites Tidbits. So continuing with our Red Flag series for the month, today we're going to do part 2 of ASD strategies for the classroom. Last week, the strategies that we talked about were primarily visual supports. And visual supports are what we use to expand a child with autism's ability to interact with his or her surroundings. And they can give children a sense of autonomy and allow them to make choices and express their needs. Visual supports also do something very important in terms of helping children be able to comprehend daily rhythms and have input in the activities. So, Sandy and I are going to discuss it a little bit. I'm going to pull up some examples so we can jump right in. Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Adrienne. How are you?
I am well. So we're going to talk about these strategies. We've been getting so many good responses from everyone about these classroom strategies. So we're very glad to be able to share these.
Right. I think we're going to pick up right. We're going to pick up right where we left off. And I think we stopped that at a really good place. We're going to start talking about the actual physical environment, right? And how we as educators can use our actual furniture, our classrooms, our bookshelves, everything that we've got in our classroom as part of a strategy to use and implement inside the classroom. And so what does that mean? So a lot of times what we see in classrooms are these big open spaces, right? Or we see areas that are not really defined, right? Not clearly, specifically defined. And so what we like to do as a strategy, right, would be to use every piece of furniture that you've got to create these little nooks and crannies, right? These little areas where we can put visuals there so that we can explicitly explain what the center is for, how to use it properly. It also alleviates a lot of that external stimuli. So instead of having an open space, now if I have a student who, is struggling or may have some red flags for ASD or is already diagnosed, if I can provide some nooks and crannies, I can lower that stimuli. I don't know if you can, you guys can see it on the lower right-hand side. There's these little individualized even areas where if a child is overstimulated, they can go there, right? I love the way that they use every angle, every possible. There are visuals here for everything. So there's a visual in that very first picture, and I think it looks like a daily schedule. So, you can use the backs of your furniture to hold all of your visuals. You could also put visuals on your furniture to explain, like I said before, what that center is for, maybe the rules of that center. So physical structure is definitely one of those key strategies that we use, right? Okay, so again, we're talking about providing strategies, right? And so a lot of our children with these red flags or that have already have the diagnosis, they struggle with body awareness. Where am I supposed to be? Right. When I look at these two pictures, I see visuals. And you're like, wait a minute, I don't see many. Well, those placemats that are on that first picture over here, that's showing me that's my place. That's a visual boundary. It's telling me as a student, this is where I belong. On top of that, now I've got visuals for what I'm supposed to do in that area.
In that particular area.
Right. And so let's go to the other picture where the teacher is there. All right. Take a good look at that. She's got tape delineated all around her. What does that show? That's a visual for this is where I want my students to sit.
Right. It's their boundary.
It's their visual boundary. You might need to up that though. You might need a student to have an actual picture of their face. That's my spot. Again, it's very individualized. You have to meet the child where they are. Sometimes children don't need a visual boundary, and sometimes they might, right? So that's another way to use your physical space, physical structure. Again, different ideas of how to do it, right? So that first one that has all those little circles, you might, I don't know, put names along with pictures. it depends on your students. That other one with the X's might be enough, right? So it depends on your age group and on meeting that child's individually where they are. So let's see what's next. And again, more examples of how we're using our use of our carpet. The carpet in and of itself has, I think, its own little shapes. You can use what you have. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
Or go out and buy anything extra.
Right. And it's as simple as assigning it, putting, maybe a number, and a child has a number that they need to match. I don't know. It depends, again, on the students that you're teaching. But this is a great way to kind of incorporate your physical structure and marry it with those visual boundaries that they sometimes require. Okay, portable visuals. So what happens when we're outside of the classroom? A lot of learning happens on the playground. A lot of learning happens in transition from one classroom to the next, in the cafeteria. If you have a cafeteria, if you're not eating in your classroom and you have a special, maybe it's a special, right? And you have to go, I don't know, you have to go to another classroom
to your music special or
thing, right? There's things that happen in transition. What a phenomenal way to keep those visuals on you at all times. So you could put it on a lanyard, you could put it on a ring chain, you could put it portable, anything that works for that teacher. And again, I would definitely make sure that they match the ones that you're using in the classroom, right? So a lot of, and depending on the age group, those visuals are going to be less cartoony and more realistic, right? So building language, right? So go ahead, Adrienne, you can take this one. This is your cup of tea here.
So one of the key strategies is building language with our little ones, keeping it simple and concrete, but not telegraphic. And what it means by when I say not telegraphic is using two phrases to put together, like kitty tired or I hungry. So we want to kind of try to steer away from that a little bit, but also respond to all of our children's attempts to communicate, because what do we know? Behavior is communication. So if they're gesturing at something, if they can't physically say they want water, if they're gesturing at that water, respond to that attempt for them to communicate, and use picture symbols, gestures, and prompt targets, words and phrases when we're trying to communicate.
So if a child is gesturing to water, that's a phenomenal opportunity to provide that language. We constantly talk about language nutrition, right? We should be a gesture. Oh, are you thirsty? Did you want water? Water, please give water, right? So all the opportunities are there to incorporate language in everything you do, and you can use it and marry it with everything that we've been talking about. So I think on your next slide, you're going to show, how we can use visuals again to communicate and to build that language. We always say we start with concrete. Those are 3D objects, right? So now you have a choice board, and you give those two concrete objects. I'm communicating. As a child, even if I do, have a language delay, even if I can't verbally communicate, I can make a choice. I can point. And if I choose bubbles, guess what I just said? I want bubbles. And then me as the educator, I'm going to pair it with language, right? Oh, Adrienne, you want bubbles? Good choice. Here you go. Bubbles, right?
Yeah.
And I think that this is a good one. And I'm going to tell you why I like this choice board, because I think this teacher who went around the room and took pictures of highly, like the most high interest, what they knew was highly preferred for that particular student. You take an actual picture, you've created a choice. You've given this child language, an opportunity to communicate effectively. Right.
And the thing about this too is it's not confusing. It's not cartoony pictures. These are actual pictures. So when they look at the doll, they know that this doll is in that center and that's the doll that they want. It's not generalized. So.
Right. And again, we have to understand their perspective. We have to understand where they are in terms of do they understand cartoony pictures, or are they really at the level of 3D prompts, 3D actual prompts, or are they progressed from there to realistic pictures? Right. So that's a good one. And again, picture cues. Once you teach these, you pair them with language. I need help, help please. And if I'm saying that and I'm picking up my visual as I point, help please, and I model that over and over, eventually I can put these picture cues on their choice board and they can gesture. What are they asking? They're saying help please. They may not have the vocal language, right? The language that we typically associate with communication, but behavior, gestures, pointing, physical prompting, it's all part of their way that they communicate, right? And so what a great way to have them express basic needs. Like these are fundamental. This is, I need to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And if you can get a child to figure out, oh wait, that's the symbol for bathroom, and when I point to that, my teacher understands I need to go potty. You're being preemptive. Honestly, you're being proactive, providing language and minimizing frustration. You're starting to understand what that child, they're telling you what they need instead of that whole big guessing game. All right. So then all of the strategies that we talked about, right? The visuals, the schedules, the physical environment, the picture cues, all of it, right? Helps to build what we want to see in the classroom, active participation, right? How else can we provide them that? Well, we can give them a job and we can scaffold. Well, what does that mean? Provide them the basic fundamental skills that they need, and then build on that, build on what they can do, right? So you give them a role, give them classroom jobs instead of, and this one is hard, right? Instead of saying no, because that's the first, we all do it. That's probably the hardest teacher habit. Not only teacher habit, human habit. Human habit. We need to kind of like self-reflect, because we say no way too much. And when we say no, they hear yes. They hear what to do, right? So instead of no, stop running, we'd say walking feet, right? Build motivation, always encourage. Even our most profound and most, there's progress always. There's something you can motivate. Even if it's that child sat and it was only for 30 seconds, I want a party, because the week before, that child didn't sit for 5 seconds and now we're up to 30. And that's something to celebrate. And I'm so proud. I mean, motivate, express what they did right. Not always what they're doing wrong. And then provide alternative ways to participate, right? Maybe they don't have vocal skills, but they can draw their answer, right? Maybe they can use hand gestures. Maybe they can learn how to sign. There's so many different ways. Maybe they can use picture cards to participate in storytelling, and you give them the and who said what. And I mean, there's so many different ways that you can have active participation, but you definitely have to be able to think outside of the box.
And just allow them that opportunity. And Sandy, one of these says pick your battles. And I remember one of the first behavior bites that we did, and I remember one of the strategies that you used, say for instance, you have a child that does not want to clean up. But this particular day, you say, you know what, I'm going to help you clean up. I'll hold the bin for you. And even if they take one block and put one block inside of that basket, it is still something to celebrate.
It's something. Or even if they looked at the block and they contemplated it, I'm really glad you thought about it. Thanks for thinking about helping me.
And even though they didn't clean up all of the blocks, you picking your battles, they picked up one. They put one block in there, that's enough.
And that, and sometimes that's a huge win. That's a huge breakthrough, right? So absolutely pick your battles, and then understand, you know, everybody is going to go at their own pace.
Right.
I need to understand that every single one of my children deserves a voice. And I have to allow for that voice, however it is that they want to express it, right? I've got to allow for that voice. Absolutely. And so that active participation is huge for us. I believe in inclusion. We all believe in inclusion. It's what we do. And so thinking out of the box, how do participation might look completely different, and that's okay. Right? Because we're talking about we're talking about being with a child where they are, and every single child is different, right? And so participation should look different from all of our students.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I got. Oh. So, we just want to give some acknowledgements here. If you have any concerns, questions, go ahead and take a picture of these resources. You have anything else, Adrienne?
That is it for this information. So thank you for joining us today. And if you are still experiencing challenging behaviors with any of the children in your classrooms, please reach out to dkay on our warm line, where the number is 954-295-0672. We'd like to encourage you to connect with us on Behavior Bites, that is held every Friday from 1 until 2. Speak to your director about registering for this. If you found this video and other videos of ours helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and we'll see you back here next time.
Take care.